Welcome everyone to a very special presentation of the Telarus Tuesday call. I'm Patrick Oborn. I'll be one of your hosts. I'm joined today by my partners in crime, Adam Edwards and Richard Murray. Today we're going to be talking a little bit exclusively about the COVID-19 situation, where we are kind of as a society, where we are as an industry, and things you can do specifically as a business owner. We here at Telarus see a lot of things and hear a lot of things. We talk to a lot of people. So the whole goal of today's call is to really get together and present everything that we're hearing so that you're in the know. This is kind of our briefing to the public. These are the things we've learned, and most importantly, the things you can do to adjust your business. First, I'd like to welcome Richard Murray. He's our COO. Welcome to the call, Richard.
Thank you. Happy to be here. I wish I had as nice of a background as you guys.
That's all right, man. So it's highway to the danger zone today. And then we're also joined by our CEO, Adam Edwards, who coincidentally is going to kick off the introduction to this call. So Adam, take us away.
Thanks. Good to be here today. We've talked to a lot of you individually, and it seems like everyone's starved for information, looking for more information, trying to gather. We also had a lot of questions from you about how we got prepared so quickly. We ramped things up from a month ago thinking we were going to channel partners to ramping up websites, flyers, complete work-at-home presentations for you, making those available 2 weeks before anyone had them. And the questions were, how did you get ready so fast, and what are you preparing for now? So we wanted to walk through some of that with you since we're being asked these questions and share with you some of the things we're thinking through. The quick answer to that is we prepared for multiple scenarios. And that's the thing about being in an uncertain time is you don't know exactly what's going to happen, but you can kind of look around and see what possibly might happen, prepare for each of those scenarios. So our discussion today is going to be in the same mindset. It's going to be helping you plan forward, really preparing for the worst and hoping for the best. And if you are prepared, you're going to be way ahead of your competition. So a little backdrop for what's going on right now. We're not economists, but when you look at this slide of unemployment, I think everybody knows that it was an absolute disaster right now from an economic standpoint. Of course, from a health standpoint as well, we're all concerned, but both things are taking place at the same time in terms of the economy shutting down, health scare going on. And my belief is that more impactful than the unemployment is the fear factor that sets in. And so we don't have perfect information. We went out and started looking for information from suppliers saying, hey, what are you projecting? Do you see attrition here? In fact, one of the questions we get from you as partners is, hey, are the providers going to cut us off? And to that, I give an overwhelming no. They're not. They need us more than ever to go out and sell. But attrition, we want to be able to project attrition. What's going on there? And they really don't have good answers right now. As we ask them, they say, we don't know. And we look around for information. People speculate anywhere from, hey, we're just going to flip the economy back on like a light switch, all the way over to the other extreme, which is, hey, we're headed into the next depression. And the reality is the truth is somewhere in the middle, and we've got to keep on taking from these different data points, gather the best information possible, and prepare for multiple scenarios. So some of the economic indicators we're seeing continue to be down. They're not getting better. We're not seeing people revise upward and say, you know what, it doesn't look as bad as we thought it was going to be last week. Now, from a health standpoint, that things may be improving where we are flattening the curve, but from an economic standpoint, that's what we're going to talk about preparing for today, is how you prepare your business and what scenarios you should be planning for. So with that, Patrick is going to jump in and talk about some of the things that we're seeing out there.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. Just reading a report today by JP Morgan, and they were talking about the different kinds of economic recoveries that we see. There's usually a typical recovery pattern that goes down really flat and then goes up over a long period of time, which is usually an economic downturn like a depression or the financial crisis of 08, 09. But there's also a recovery pattern that's more V-shaped that is typically follows natural disasters. Right now, both of them look the same on the one side. It's just a question of, is it going to take some time to come out, or is it going to come snap right back? Our opinion is it's going to take some time to come out. This is more of a financial market recovery that we're looking at as opposed to a natural disaster recovery. And that's because so much damage has been done to the economy. It's just going to take time. In our opinion, it's going to take time to come out. So as we talk about how to prepare your business for the future, it's important to understand the makeup of your base of customers. And it's also important to understand, as you look through that base of customers, to see what kind of industries, or it's like you own a mutual fund. It's important to see your exposure to the different people that are getting hurt and being helped by the crisis. The people who are being hurt by the crisis are restaurants, obviously, gambling, airlines, hotels, movie theaters, live sports, cruise ships, shipping, automakers. Real estate is ground to a near halt. No one's really buying big old houses or anything right now. Oil and gas is tanking tremendously. Retail, mortgage lending. If no one's buying houses, the mortgage lenders really don't have much work to do. Hardware vendors and the technology space, no one's really buying big gear right now. Conventions, just as Adam mentioned, we're not going to channel partners, and neither is anybody else right now. Theme parks are all closed. Gyms are closed. Construction workers are under stay-at-home orders. Rideshare services, the gig economy, no one can go anywhere because they're quarantined at home. And then also film production. But there are, ironically, whenever there's winners and losers, there are people who are benefiting by this, and that is some technology companies. Like you see here, the stock chart of Ring Central, there are some people who are going up in the midst of this crisis. Some of those people include grocery stores, because they're selling out their stock almost nonstop. They've never really seen this type of influx and demand on their services. Costco, obviously. Home delivery services, people who bring services to your door. Online retailers, people are at home, they're shopping on the internet. Internet providers are going up. Telecoms, content streaming services, Disney Plus, Hulu, YouTube, you name it. SaaS providers, we've seen an enormous demand for things like Zoom and Ring Central and everything else. Medical supply companies, they literally can't keep their inventory in stock. And then online gaming. So we got a lot of things going on in the industry. And Richard's going to talk to us a little bit right now about what we're seeing here at Telarus specifically.
Yeah, thanks, Patrick. Let me just share a few of our observations and projections around what we're seeing here from a business perspective. So, first of all, sales in March was decent, so thank you. On the sales that closed, especially the last 2 weeks, many were late stage sales and work at home oriented sales that just kind of rushed to a close. But we are hearing about many projects that pushed out, especially large network deals and SMB sales. We think that's what we're seeing is businesses appear to be stepping back and reassessing where they are and what they need to do to address the situation and what's going to happen to their business. But there is quite a bit of activity in account and bandwidth upgrades, layering on new services. In addition, with that, we're seeing the wallet share with existing clients is deepening. We've put together a list of products that you can use to do that, to grow the wallet share at checklist.telarus.com. And many of you are doing that as you're selling add-on products to be able to enable your businesses, your customers to make it through this. Lastly, looking to April and forward beyond that, we are hearing that new logo prospecting is slowing. And with that, on sales activity, we're hearing both sides. If you're one that feels like you're just kind of sitting around, you're not alone in that. Depending on your model and sales focus, for example, those that really support the struggling industries that Patrick walked through, we're hearing about a few partners that just aren't very busy right now. But on the flip side, there are several partners that have told us that they've never been busier, and they're putting together projects to solve big problems, in many cases in a rush. So with that, with those two sides, overall, we anticipate that sales will be moderately flat in April and then lighter in May as businesses continue to get their footing and choose what they want to do to move forward. However, we do see that sales will rebound over time through the rest of the year as customers seek to cost optimize. That's what the channel does, right? Just like like we did in 08 and 09. We also expect that the work at home trend will really continue and deepen, and Patrick's going to talk more about that towards the end. Moving on from new sales to revenue, meaning your monthly commissions. We get asked about this quite often from you. And obviously, it's great to be in a residual business, and we've not had any suppliers failed to make commission payments so far, and we don't expect that to happen. However, projecting out from now until Q2 2021, we do encourage you to plan for a decline. Once again, we're dealing with uncertainty here, but providers have not been able to give us an estimate of credits they're going to have to offer, which impacts commissions, or an estimation of their expected cancellation rate. So we're left to make some of our own assumptions. And there are some contributing factors that are more certain, and Adam's going to take us through those.
Yeah, as Richard talks about planning for a downturn, you got to understand how uncomfortable it is for us to talk about. We love talking about the upside and growth and opportunity because that's really what this industry has been about for so many years. And to talk about decline or loss or change like that is really unnatural for us. But I think if you peer over, the cliff into the great abyss that is, stabilized revenue or slightly declining revenue or either moderately declining revenue, that's a scary thing, but we've got to do it. We've got to take a look at what's coming and plan for it. And that is the best way to feel secure right now. So first of all, harken back to Richard's comment, which was, you're not alone. I keep hearing that from partners going, I'm not hearing back. Are other people having, success? Yeah, some are, but the reality is we're all going through this and we're going to see a slowdown. So what do you prepare for? Just like Richard said, sales will decline, but the bigger issue for you is revenue decline. And that's a difference. The new sales, new things you close, everybody here knows those take months to start cash flowing. They've got to implement, they've got to service for a month, and they bill, and then you get paid. So we're always in this this delayed visibility into what's really going on. And so what we've got to do as organizations is plan for multiple scenarios. Like we talked about before, with accurate or incomplete information, you've got to look at multiple possibilities. So we recommend you plan for 3. First, a 10% reduction in your revenue, then a 20%, then a 30%. Now, we've sliced and diced this a lot of different ways. Like I said, we went to the providers and said, what do you see? And they said, I don't know. We've issued X million dollars of credit so far, but as a percentage of the base, we're not sure what will attrition, what businesses will come back, what won't. We then looked at the Telarus base and said, okay, if we look at this, we think SMB will probably attrition more because those companies are more at risk. The bigger ones will stabilize. But wait, some of the bigger customers that you guys have are movie theaters and fitness, health chains, and retailers and things like that. So some of the big businesses may be at risk too. So while we sliced and said, okay, bigger attrition from SMB, smaller attrition from larger businesses, and then you try to look at across verticals. If you want to get into that detail, great. But I think the simplest thing to do right now is take a look at your base and say, what would I do if there's a 10% reduction? What would I do if there's a 20%? And then what would I do in a 30%? And then you look at each of those scenarios and say, okay, at 10%, I'm just fine. I probably can't hire more people right now, but I'd be just fine. 20%, things may change. I may have to make some decisions. 30%, okay, I've got to make some significant adjustments. As you walk through those, you're going to be more comfortable with the situation because you know what you will do if things go bad. Now, if they don't go bad, great, even better. But once you do those things, you're going to have peace of mind. That's what we've done as an organization. We've had our scenario planning. In fact, Richard runs our COVID planning. We've got multiple scenarios we've planned for. And several of those we ripped through very quickly because we passed by those, but we've got many more to explore different scenarios. From a financial standpoint, we've done this as well. Telarus is in a very good position financially. We're very well off in terms of our abilities to sustain downturn. We don't think there's going to be a 30% downturn. If there were, though, we would be fine. If there were 20%, would also be fine. And we've gone more scenario planning as well. So that's my emphasis to you. Now, I got this a little bit out of order, Patrick. So if you can back up one slide, I do want to talk about the delay here because this is important. A lot of you are not always looking at your projections for what's coming in. And so we run our operation kind of like, hey, there's money in the checking account. Things must be great. But because we're on such a delayed cycle with commissions, we're going to see that even if businesses stop paying their bills in March, which they are, we're not going to see that for 2 months. You're not going to see that until May. Oh, and by the way, in May, you're not going to see all of the impact because only the cash-based carriers, which are a few of them. There are not that many cash-based carriers anymore that pay you when a customer remits their commission. And then when they don't remit their commission, well, then you don't get paid. So those you'll start to see manifest in May. But the others, remember, the ones that pay based on the bill, we like those because they're very smooth, and you don't have months double up because a customer was a week late in paying their bill, and you get your commissions very smoothly. The challenge with those is you get chargebacks. So in May, you're not going to have those chargebacks, even if the customers didn't pay in March or April or May. You're going to start seeing those chargebacks when the customer no pays for 90 days. So don't get lulled into a false sense of security that, hey, I dodged a bullet. All those other people, maybe they got problems, but not this guy. Please don't do that. Prepare and just assume that you're going to see a downside. Play it conservatively because, again, we've got a delayed reaction and you've got to plan for it. Don't expect that if everything looks rosy in May, that things actually are rosy, because there's going to be a delayed reaction. And we anticipate, based on those comments from Jamie Dimon and others, that this will be a sustained recession. It's not going to be that V-shaped recovery Patrick talked about. Indicators look more and more like it's going to be sustained, which means some of these businesses that no pay, it's not just for a month or two. They may go longer and they may go out of business, which means you get chargebacks. So prepare for that. Let's see. Next item I wanted to walk through is what you can do and how you can apply for some of the relief that's available right now. And my first message here is there are a lot of programs available to you. Don't be shy about these. I think a lot of you, as I talk to you privately, and not just in the past weeks, but months, you're very independent. Like I build this on my own. I don't depend on the government. I don't depend on anybody. And I respect that independence. Having said that, these programs are available to you to help your employees. One of the things the government is doing is saying, look, we're not just going to pay everybody's paycheck, but what we can do is we can keep people employed, then the economy is going to recover faster. If we can keep them at their jobs. And so I would say the biggest program out of these is the Paycheck Protection Program. Don't be afraid to take advantage of that. Even if you're not feeling it right now, some of you feel like, well, I'm not experiencing economic pain. That's for the bars and the restaurants that had to close down. Not so. You are going to feel impact in the long term, not this month and not next month, but when these commissions catch up to you, you will likely see significant attrition, more so than you do on a regular basis. Industry average right now is 1.5% per month. That's what we typically see across most partners, 1.5% of your base, which means about 20% per month, or per year rather, is falling out. We believe that will accelerate. Some partners are below 1% because they do a good job of retaining even those partners. Just because you're retaining customers doesn't mean you can keep them in business, and you will see that. So the Paycheck Protection Program is out there right now, and you can apply for it with your bank. If you've already got an SBA loan, and some of you do, you've got lending from your bank, you can go right back to that same bank and apply for this program, because that's where it's being administered, is from those banks that you already bank with. And also, if you've got a loan, there's already a 6-month payment forgiveness going on. And that's the SBA debt relief all the way over there on the right of this slide. They have said just automatically they're suspending payments there. So be aware of that. We're not going to dive too deep into that. We can answer questions afterward. Telarus, you should know, is taking advantage of this. We are going to take advantage of that because we expect the downturn to hit us in a couple months. And we already have. We've already applied and got things in motion. And to see that happening. Things are getting funded quickly, though the SBA's works got a little gummed up. We got reports this morning, thanks to Richard, that the works are getting gummed up a bit. Who'd have thunk? But the system has been overwhelmed, but they'll work through it. This is the fastest we've ever seen a program be administered like this. So we have got word that some partners are already seeing their loans fund. Now, Anticipate is a program that has been in place for a long time. We're getting questions from you about this. Yes, it's there. Yes, we're continuing to run it. We're happy to lend to partners and help you along your way as you still want to invest in your business. The comments we're also getting is, hey, I've got a loan out from Telarus. Can we modify it? Can we talk about payment terms and things like that, or delaying some of these? I had a spouse who is out of work or something. Absolutely. Give us a call. Let's talk through that. That whole program was set up to help you. And in a time like this, I'm very proud of this program, that we've got it available to partners. So keep that in the back of your mind, even if you don't need it today, that in a couple months from now, it'll be there for you.
You know, most of our programs like Anticipate really come from partner conversations that we have. And, you know, we've got a great executive team that gives us incredible ideas, but Adam, Patrick, and I, because we're always out calling partners, we really have the benefit of learning from a lot of our partners and your ideas. And so today we wanted to talk a little bit about what we've been doing. And in some cases, those come from ideas of what you guys have been doing. And so hopefully this will be helpful for all of you. For those of you with employees, we're getting a lot of questions about best practices and what we're doing around that. How did we get them set up to work at home? Help them financially, work around kids' schedules, motivate them now that they're working remote, and then just communicating with them. First thought there is on their setup, just don't be cheap on that. We've had to go out and get some new headsets and a few new laptops. We even had a few employees that just needed a desk to be able to work at all. So make sure they're set up to be able to work. From a financial standpoint, we built a loan program in case they have a spouse lose their job, and they can come to HR, and there are different thresholds that we have set up there, but we've got that program so that it's there and reassuring them that we're behind them. The biggest issue with work at home has been kids. And candidly, we've loosened our freaky fast response requirement just a bit and created additional backup channels to allow our working parents some flexibility that they need to be able to get their job done while also being able to go change to the next Disney movie. The picture on the right here is the Telarus employee take what you need store that we set up. Obviously, our office is closed, but employees can still get in there for times when they can't find items that they need at the store. Now, there was a run on baby wipes or rice or obviously toilet paper nationwide. And we were able to fill some gaps for some employees that needed that. They could just go in there and pick it up. Around motivation, some of this is where we've heard some really great ideas from our partners as well. But we've created team hangouts where we've just opened rooms like this for people to just be able to get in and talk. We've organized game groups. There's an online game called Jackbox.tv that we've used and implemented with some of our teams just to relieve some stress. We've done regular surveys. We engaged with a new software through our new supplier that specializes in employee engagement, Illumo.
Looks like Richard froze. All right. Did everyone lose audio, or is it just Richard? Just him. All right. Well, I'm going to jump in.
Back.
Richard, you there? If you want me to jump in.
Hey. I think I'm back.
You're back. All right.
Look at that. Sorry about that, guys. Well, let's see. I was in Illumo.
That's last we heard. Illumo.
So Illumo's been great. They've got a pre-built COVID questionnaire that we've been able to put out to employees. And then lastly is just communicate. We've increased the frequency of our all hands. We've created an internal SharePoint page with all things COVID on it, where to find testing centers, just trying to take a lot of the unknown out from our employees. So moving on training, on events, we believe the method of training and events will change. So we're working to innovate here. We suggest that you start thinking about how you can train your employees. Now that a supplier can't come to sit in your conference room, how are you going to train them? Because education is so important, but it will need to be different. We've actually established monthly learning goals internally. Made available online training resources for our staff, and we'll be doing all that we can to help support you in educating your team, but you're going to need to try to do some things. My final thought on ideas here is that we all have to evolve as managers. We have to start training our managers, which may be you, around the mindset that our style of management will have to change. It's a new world. And whether it be just the aspect of working for home or just the change perspectives, we will need to change how we communicate, our expectations around kids and pets during conference calls and on and on. Patrick, why don't you walk us through how we can continue to grow here?
Thanks a lot, Richard. So this is, probably my favorite part of the call. We've gone over what's happened, it's there, but what can we do right now, and what's your strategy going to be going forward? The greatest thing about this is that there is precedent, right? Things like this are not unique to us. These things have happened in human history. In fact, there was actually a company that is a great indicator of how this recovery takes place. And if we look back to between 2003 and 2015, there's a big financial cliff that we fell off in 08, 09. And a company came back and became very, very popular and had record profits after that happened. And that was Dollar Tree. In fact, if you're looking at the slides now, you'll see the actual chart of Dollar Tree between 2008, 2009, that's right there in the middle, all the way to 2015. So you can see that for the next 5 years after that collapse, Dollar Tree excelled. And I'm not quite sure that their management changed their whole philosophy. I'm not quite sure that their whole business model changed. But what I think I can tell you is that the behavior of the consumer is the thing that changed. It wasn't necessarily the store. And when we look at the behavior of our consumers, what are those behaviors going to look like? Obviously, number one, they're going to be looking for cost reduction. When anyone is in a crisis, their most expensive asset are employees, and that's the real quick and easy way to save money. But once you can't cut only so far until you have the employees that you absolutely need to survive, then where do you go for cost savings? And then you start taking a second look at all the technology infrastructure you built. The great thing about us and you guys is that we can go in and help them cost optimize their whole digital environment in a way that gets them into the new services at probably a cheaper price than they've been calling. So be prepared to have conversations with your customers around cost savings. Another thing, speaking of what I just mentioned, is technology transformation. So if you'll take a look at their infrastructure, look at all of the servers they have on-prem, this is really an opportune time to get to that conversation. Stephanie, if you could advance my slide, please, that'd be great. The whole conversation is changing because this whole COVID-19 world, it's kicked everyone in the butt into the cloud. We are going there into the cloud. The question is, are people going to go to the cloud on their own, or are they going to go to the cloud with a partner? This is really our chance to stand out and sell our value to them. You don't really have to sell the cloud to them anymore, because I think Darwin kind of did that for you. Now you have to sell your value, which is one of the things that some agents do really well and other agents struggle. Work on your pitch, work on your presentation. Our marketing department here at Telarus has preset PowerPoints that they can help you customize, that you can actually give to your customers so that they understand that you'll be there post-sale, that you're a sales rep that's not a here today, gone tomorrow kind of guy, that you can get in and help them with multiple facets of their technology infrastructure, not just one piece. So you're one source to go to for everything that they need, as opposed to sourcing 30 different suppliers, 30 different ways. So this is really an opportunity, again, for the whole digital transformation conversation to happen. Before the COVID-19 thing happened, 20% of the people who could be in the cloud were. There were still 80% of the people that were holding out, that were holding on to that server. It's already paid off. It technically works. Well, during this whole situation, they learned that that server doesn't deal with work at home very well, that phone server doesn't forward calls to people's cell phones. Like, that's not a workable solution. The cloud is there, so go ahead and take full advantage of it. Speaking of work at home, that's part of the technology transformation now that you're going to be talking about. And Stephanie, if you could advance me a slide. The whole work at home movement really pertains to 5 different areas. Number one, internet access. We have, mark your calendars next week. Oh, too far. Mark your calendars next week. We have a big launch coming out on April 14th. If I could go back a couple slides, that'd be fantastic. Thanks, Steph. we have a conference call coming out with a new product called Fortify. You'll hear about this next week. Mark your calendars. It's an unlimited 4G wireless LTE product that just goes into your customers' homes. Take it home with you, take it to the work, anywhere there's cellular signal. Can I go back to work at home real fast? Thanks. Anywhere that they need access, they'll basically have up to 300 gigs, which is almost unlimited in terms of the amount of bandwidth you get. This solves a lot of problems because, you know, you've got cable or fiber. If you're already on cable or fiber and your kids are doing homeschool, it tends to be problematic when you're trying to have a video conference call like we are right now. Next, you have security. And we've all learned in recent days with Zoom and everything else, like security is paramount. There are things that you can do between cloud-based firewall, on-premise gear that you can put in your house for SD-WAN, and also downloading VPN software to your machine so that you can communicate securely with your other company's company assets through the internet. So there's ways that you can, again, provide security to even people working at home to make sure that all your HIPAA and PCI and all the other requirements that you're under stay secure. Next, you have video conferencing solutions. You have RingCentral, who just last week launched their own solution. You have Zoom, which is working really hard to fix their security concerns. You have lots and lots of video options, which are now more popular than ever. Unified communications, again, getting rid of those phone systems. Like, those phone systems got to go. They don't work in this new work at home world. And now that, again, this is your chance to show them the different feature sets using the Telarus UCaaS matrix to go and see the different backends, to have conversations around integrating it with CRM. If your phone is in the cloud, it's just a POTS line in the cloud. It's not a UCaaS system. A UCaaS system is when you're integrating multiple cloud environments together to increase your customers' experience. Contact centers are a big one. If you thought that the adoption of UCaaS was rather slow, adoption of CCaaS, contact center as a service, is even slower. So many call centers now have to route those calls to people working in their houses. So if you get engaged in a contact center conversation, please reach out to us. We have Brandon Knight, who's waiting in the wings to have these conversations with you, to enable people to not only improve their experience, but make sure that their workers can work at home. And then lastly, we've got a desktop and workspace as a service, so that work at home folks can access large files or log into a system that's very, very computationally intense, like CAD software and some of these other things, so that they can still continue to do their work at home. Now, if you want to win during this crisis, the thing that you have to do is deepen your relationships with your existing clients. Reach out to them, make sure that they're doing okay, and most importantly, have conversations around things that maybe you might not have talked to them about. And we mentioned it earlier in the call, we're gonna mention it again. Checklist.telarus.com is where you can go to find all of the things that you as a Telarus trusted advisor have access to. Not only do you have access to those products and services through our supplier portfolio, but you also have access to subject matter experts across each of these categories. So if you have any questions, please reach out to us. We would love to help you engage in conversations with your clients. And last but not least, this is also an opportunity to engage with other referral partners. There are a lot of people out there that may still have jobs, but they may need cash. There are a lot of people out there that need jobs, that need money, that need to keep things going. And this is a great opportunity to find people that maybe aren't interested in being a full-blown agent, but also earning some extra money with all of the people they know and monetizing their relationships and monetizing their knowledge of projects that are going on. Reach out to them and grow your referral base. If you go into your Telarus back office and go into the VAR program area, you can set these referral partners up so that Telarus will pay them for you, making your life super easy, super clean, and again, creating opportunity for those around you, in addition to creating referral sources for yourself. There are a lot of things going on, but again, this is an opportunity to help people. It's an opportunity to make money. It's an opportunity to provide for your family, to provide for your employees, to provide for your referral partners. This is really an opportunity for us to stand up. As grave as the concerns that we're facing as a society, now's really our chance. And Adam's going to finish us up by telling us what we can expect going forward.
That's right. We talked about imperfect information before, about trying to gather expertise and information and insight from people around us. And the truth is, no one's actually sure what's going to happen with the economy, but the picture is starting to become clear that it's going to be a protracted downturn. Now, fortunately, we've been through this before. Fortunately, we went through a downturn in 08, 09, and we saw what happened. And the things that came out of that are the things that Patrick talked about previously, when we saw people going to cost optimization. They wanted to save. People wanted to switch and move out of capital expenditures into operating expenditures. It was better for them. We saw new businesses. We saw new agents start up. Some of you who are listening on this call, you're working for a supplier right now. You may be laid off and become agents in the future. The truth is, with change comes opportunity. And that's a message I want to make sure that everybody here is aware of, is that the channel doesn't just thrive in an up market. The channel thrives on change. And when there is change, we can be successful. So while the short term may appear troublesome, my ask of you is to manage the downside, look over into the abyss of what could possibly happen. What's the worst that could happen? Once you do that, you'll experience a freedom that you've got a plan in place that if the worst happens, you're going to be okay. Then you can focus on the opportunity, because I assure you, it's bigger than it ever has been. It's brighter than it ever has been. And you've got to be there with us. We've planned for it. We've shored up our finances. They're already in a good place. They're in a better place now. And we're ready for it because we know the opportunity is bigger on the other side. Like Patrick said, people are going to be looking to new technologies. This is like the biggest proof of concept of work at home that has ever been undertaken. And as a result, we're just fast forwarding a trend that was already there. We already saw this trend of going to the cloud, of going to work at home, of being flexible, going to UC, contact center, refreshing the network, going to SD-WAN. Those things were already a trend. We just had hit fast forward on them, and you can take advantage of this. So please do your scenario planning. And one last just personal ask that I have of you is, when you've done your downside planning, when you've considered the worst possible thing and you know you're going to be okay, reach outside yourself. One of the most gratifying things that we've done is engage with our employees and let them know it's going to be okay. I think this is the time when we can show who we really are to others and also to ourselves, to show them we weren't just talking, we weren't kidding when we said we care about you. Reaching out to your partners, whether referral partners, sub-agents, employees, or friends and family around you, reach out. Now's a time when you need to connect. That's a great investment for your business, like Patrick talked about, deepening relationships, even when people aren't buying things. But more importantly, it just makes you feel good. And people need that right now. When we're secluded, we're not meant to be alone at home. We're meant to connect with people. We're meant to look at each other's eyes and talk and have a conversation. We'll do that again. We'll be out there at events. We'll be sharing good times with you and engaging. But until then, reach out through voice, video, any way you can, and reassure others once you've taken care of yourselves. We wanted to reserve the rest of the time for Q&A. We know there are a lot of questions. We tried to anticipate as many questions as we could because we've had many conversations. We know there are others. And so at this point, we're going to turn over to Q&A and start to answer some questions.
So I scrolled up to the top of the chat, and then there are a few that have come in through the Q&A. The first one I see that we didn't address is just around the Zoom bombing. I know that Zoom has come out with some blogs and some best practices that they suggest that you take to be able to protect you and your customers from people just joining your meeting uninvited. So I think the key to that one is the waiting room that you can establish, and then also just having passwords for your individual meetings, I think were the two main points that they had suggested around that. Let's see, next question. What percentage of the work from home workforce do you think may stick once we go back to normal? Adam, any guesses on that? You're the numbers guy.
I just more. I think everyone's guessing right now, but I think we can be very confident in saying the cycle is going to accelerate. And the businesses I'm talking to, they're saying that, yeah, we had resistance to that before, not anymore. And it's not like they're just going to shut down their office and go away, but I think they're going to be much more flexible in saying, you know what, half of our people can stay at home. We can be more flexible here. And so I would just say, expect the trend to accelerate.
Okay. John Arnold asked about providers that may be offering customers temporary payment deferral options. I know this is something that we discussed with Cox that they are doing on an ICB request standpoint. Or have you guys heard of any other suppliers that are doing that?
So I think we tried to maintain Telarus.com on our COVID response site on what different providers have different offerings. We've also been taking a list and maintaining a list of different things that we're hearing. Comcast, I know, has offered discounts to some. There are different policies, but I don't know off the top of my head. Cox had one where it was, we can either forgive 1 month or 50% off of 2 months. I think those are going to change over time, but the one common thing that I'm hearing is you got to ask for it. The customers have got to get on and request it, or you on their behalf saying, hey, can you work with me here? That's so much better in any scenario. Rather than going dark, talk about it, communicate, get out there, speak on their behalf, and I think you'll find better results that way. But as far as policies, remember, a lot of these providers are still scrambling. They don't know how many people are going to slow or late pay. And so they haven't created policies yet. I think they will as 30 days goes by and they see how many have no paid. I think they'll start establishing some policies really quickly, and we'll make sure we put those on the webpage for you, not in the back office, but just out in the open where everybody can see.
I'm going to lump together several questions here that I've seen, and we may need to get into more detail on some of them later on, but I've seen several just around commissions and the impact of slow pay, short pay ETFs. So let me lump a few of those as I think through it. On ETFs, it's hard to know if a supplier is going to go after a customer if they cancel a contract. I would think they will, though. I mean, there's a difference between a short-term grace period that I think most of the providers will provide versus just canceling out an entire contract. So I think they will impose ETFs, but look, if a customer's gone out of business, it's not getting paid anyway. The issue is on ETFs. In most cases, or in a lot of cases, we don't necessarily get paid on ETFs. And so usually those are a one-for-one type of thing where we have to engage a supplier and ask to be paid on an ETF if it is applied. The other is just thinking around the timing. There have been some that have questioned if a customer doesn't pay a bill, and will I still get paid? So yes, we do match up the month of payment with your month of commission. And if the suppliers are offering any temporary delays, they're actually, in most cases, what we're seeing is they're extending out the contract length for the customer. So you'll miss those 2 months if they give them 2, but you'll get those up in the latter end of the contract. Let's see. You guys see a question that?
There was a question earlier that popped in. Meg said with regard to the PPP program, the paycheck program, she said, get in quickly. That is accurate. Thank you, Meg, for pointing that out, that when it's gone, it's gone. There's still plenty of funds available. Banks have been very slow at processing. Here's another trend we've learned from our own bank and our own advocate who we engaged to go out for us. He said, look, the bigger banks are having bigger problems. Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, processing slowly. This is very manual, and these are massive organizations. So to recalibrate and try to get these through, it's taking some time. If you're with a regional bank or a smaller bank that does SBA loans, you'll likely have better luck there. But yes, speed is important there. I saw another question in there as well about 1099s, and the answer is no, you cannot claim 1099s as part of your payroll that you're maintaining. Remember, the PPP program is a program where if we maintain our employee level from last month through June, I believe it is, then that loan ends up, the payroll portion of that loan ends up being forgiven. But if they're not employees, they get to go file themselves, and you cannot do that for them. That's why you can't include 1099s.
All right. There was a question about will this affect Telarus Summit? Right now, we're planning on going forward. We're working on maybe being able to have other options around it. But when you look at the projections, most communities are going to hit peak here through April. And then really we're just going to need to see what happens once all the data starts to trend in, and if they're able to get data around if COVID is seasonal. Right now, there's no definitive answer to that question, and so most of the models that I've looked at, that I've seen, look like August and September are going to be kind of safe zones to be able to do some things, and then there's a possibility of it coming back late in the year. But right now, we absolutely are planning on Partner Summit. Let's see, Jeff Hine, I'm a one-man operation. How can I best keep up with current clients and bring in new clients? Do you have a product where you help process inquiries and sales? Adam or Patrick, you guys?
Well, in terms of the answer of how do I keep up with people right now, with clients, I'm not sure about the processing sales portion of it, but what I would say is outbound, just outbound. Now is the time to call and check in, especially if your phone has stopped ringing, where some of the partners you talk to are nervous because, hey, no one's calling me. Well, the phone rings both ways. And so how about you call them, engage them, and just simply ask, how are you doing? With no pretense of opportunity, because like Patrick said before, when you invest in a relationship and truly care about someone's well-being, it's going to come back to you. And that's the best advice I can give you. I was just on a call with a partner this morning in New York, and that's exactly the tack that he's taking. Very successful partner. Things have gone sideways, as big deals have gone sideways, and you're just outbounding. How are you doing? How's your planning going? Your scenario planning? Have you been impacted yet? Here's what I'm seeing from others. Just like you, these people are trying to gather more information, and you happen to have a lot of customers you talk to. So you're someone who can share information and say, yes, I have seen people in this situation, and most have done A, B, and C. How are you dealing with it? But I think that's the best thing you can do right now is outbound. Honestly, a lot of new sales right now is starting to appear like ambulance chasing. It's running out there and trying to get every opportunity. We all want those new sales, but you got to be careful about how you do it because it's really noisy. Customers are saying that, hey, we're just overwhelmed with offers right now, UC, work at home type stuff. And so just be careful about how you do it. But we believe your best prospecting right now is in your own base.
All right, put on your crystal, or pull out your crystal ball, Adam, and do you anticipate spiffs going up or down?
That's a good question. Well, first indication was Windstream came out with an 11x spiff for their UC product. So if that's an indication they're going up, I don't know. We've debated that internally of, hey, is this a cash crunch where these companies are going to be more careful with cash and not want to push it out? Or are they so hungry for this new opportunity that's opened up that they're going to push even harder? And the biggest stiffs right now are being paid by the UC providers that also have, the biggest early opportunity here in the work and at home environment. And so we don't see any change to that right now. We're not seeing a change yet, up or down. And I'd say we're still split on whether those things do go up or down. I think Patrick, I usually lean to Patrick on predictions like that. And I believe the last word he gave is they'll probably go up, if anything, because these companies are going to be so hungry for sales.
All right. We were asked if any agents have received the 10,000 SBA advance. That's more of the emergency fund advance. I've not heard of any that have received that. All the conversations that I've had have been around the PPP. Adam, have you seen anything different there?
The bulk of the information I've heard is about PPP. I did talk to a partner yesterday who said they applied for the 10,000. Remember, the 10,000 is an advance of an emergency loan. So it's separate from the PPP. That's a different program. I don't know any of those that have been funded yet.
Okay. Let's see.
There is comments. Can I just answer one real quick? I see a question about Zoom issues and when are they going to get out from under this? I thought the blog posted by their CEO was masterful in addressing the security issues. He came out and was totally transparent and said, we screwed up. We really messed up. We didn't see how big this was going to be. We went from 10 million to 200 million users. And as a result, we had not built in some of these things, and we're sorry. We also gave a plan for, hey, 90 days is what we're going to need to address these. And he put together a council of CISOs to advise them on what security issues specifically they need to address. And they're going to talk through how they address each one. But he's given a timeline for the different fixes and believes 90 days. But anyway, the way he addressed that I thought was very well done. Look that up. You can find it anywhere if you go to Zoom CEO or just search for it and you'll find his blog.
Agree. We were asked if we can assist with hosting webinars for agents and their customers during this time period to help inform the customers on available solutions. The answer is absolutely yes. I would say it was probably 2 weeks ago. Patrick and Roger had hosted a kind of a mass customer-facing presentation around what customers can do to evolve into work at home. So that content's already prepared. It's already ready to go. And if that's something that you're looking to do, I'd encourage you to reach out to your PDM to try to schedule something that can be directly available for you and your customers.
I think very quickly, what's important to address is this comment about Patrick's background that it looks like it's a 1990s glamour shot set. No, that would actually be a 1980s glamour set. That's from Top Gun. You can see a little logo on the top, a throwback to Partner Summit when we're all together last August, a happy time. So it's Patrick in a cockpit. That's the mountain view behind him. So that's what that background shot is. Maybe not the most relevant
I guess I'm doing
question.
myself a disservice by promoting last year's Partner Summit, but but assuming we have Partner Summit this year, I'm still dying to know the theme.
Let's see. A lot of these are being answered in the chat. Let's see, there are 9 Q&As.
Where can I find this Prezo deck? Where are we going to have the recording and the deck? Can we get a response on that from marketing?
I think they've answered that it's going to be posted and available, but if they want to repost that.
Okay.
You know, I think I caught some of this in my commission answer, but there was a concern that if a customer stops paying the carrier, will I receive the commissions for the few months that I haven't received it yet? I'm concerned the customer closes or stops paying, my commissions will immediately stop. With all of our contracts, if they've paid that bill, you will be paid. And so even if a customer has stopped, you'll be paid for the months that they have paid. I believe we've posted the URL for the COVID-19 offers. That's on the Telarus website. Let's see. Best, Patrick, you might be able to talk about this. Since companies are looking for ways to cut budgets, what are some of the best services and products to help them do that?
All right, that's a great question. Number one, there is usually a lot of fat in their wireless bills. One way that you can cut that is to call Cyber Solutions, one of our providers. They can actually basically create a back-end VPN on the back of the handoff. So when your customers are on the phone, connects to AT&T, before it goes to the internet, you put Cyber Solutions in the middle, even if it's just at first for a measuring device. It will measure all the traffic that's coming through. It'll be able to break down for your customers which traffic's going to YouTube, Netflix, everything else that's non-business related, and give you an instant way to thin down that bill. And it will tell you exactly what plans you need to implement. But the best thing about Cyber Solutions is that it will hard cut. So if you have somebody on a 40 gig plan, for example, and they hit 41 gigs, Cyber will clip them and let you know, or at least throttle them down so that you're not going over your plan. So it's a great way to slim down on bills. We also have another provider you might want to reach out to. It's called Warner Telecom Solutions. Warner Telecom is a telecom and mobility expense management platform that guarantees 20% savings or like your money back or some crazy thing. I just did a video with Tim Jews, the CEO of that company, maybe 2 months ago. And even during the video, he was saying, I guarantee you 20% savings. And I was like, how can you guarantee that? savings goes, no, we've been doing this so long, we know how to do it. And again, I would start with the TEM and the mobility expense. Those two things are relatively easy. I would also, of course, do a review of the network. A lot of people are out there still paying for expensive dedicated circuits, quite frankly. Like dedicated circuits, I don't see a need for them anymore. You just need a big, fat, cheap internet pipe with a really good SD-WAN service, and you'll be all set. So I would look probably in those three areas. I would look in telecom expense management, mobility expense management, and network, and find something there. Also, and you'll laugh at me for saying this, but POTS, there are still lots of multi-site aggregated POTS opportunities that are still paying 50, 60, 70 bucks a month per POTS line, because the ILECs are decommissioning all those POTS lines. And so if you get with a service like Bullseye or Granite, and I know there's lots more out there, but MetTel, you can dramatically reduce those bills on those multi-site POTS. There's going to be stuff laying everywhere. I mean, really get in there as a solution consultant and look at all aspects. Literally pull out the technology checklist at checklist.telarus.com and sit down with your customers much like a doctor and go over each one. Some of the things they may not have at all, some of the things they may have bought and aren't using. Those are always obvious low-hanging fruit targets for cost savings. But when you go at it at a whole approach and can go down, you're going to find stuff, I guarantee you.
So to answer a couple questions in there about funding, one question was, hey, can you show the slide again about SBA? You can easily go to sba.gov and find, they've got links all over to it. If you search anything for PPP, SBA, CARES Act, any of that, you're going to get to it. Also, Jolene, I wanted to respond to your question. So yes, there's the PPP program, that's the Paycheck Protection, which says, yes, I'm going to keep my employee headcount the same. I'm not going to lay people off, and the government is going to give you 2.5 months of salary to do that. There's another one, the 50% reduction, proving you have a 50% reduction, gives you a $5,000 tax credit for each employee. That's a different program. That's something that's different. That is a tax credit. So that's not the same as the PPP program, as I understand it, as our accountant laid it out for us.
Adam, I'd expand also on the 50%, because I do believe that there were representations that to be able to get it forgiven, you had to keep X% of your payroll in place.
Okay.
We've actually seen that data changing quite regularly, and in some cases the initial SBA requirements were changing overnight as banks were starting to put these applications together. Those that we've talked to that have started to go through that are saying that they've had to maybe indicate that all of it or most of it is going to payroll, not just for other funding.
Good question by Zachary on, hey, can we get notification if customers are late in their payments? You know, historically, we've seen some providers have put in the commission report that, hey, these are 60 days in arrears, or they're however many months past payment. We don't see as many of those right now, and we have discussed internally, could we get reports like that from providers? We're really not seeing those right now. I don't think those are going to get turned up really fast if we go and make the request, because they're not built into the systems to give us the late pays. Would love to collect that information, but for now, don't anticipate it. Just expect there's going to be some drop off, and don't get lulled into security because there hasn't been drop off in the next month or two. But if we can get increased visibility for you, we'll absolutely get that.
A big question of, are we going to do this again next month? We haven't discussed it, but I can tell you what we have discussed is just the need and the reality that we're going to be out communicating more. I mean, I think you guys, if you look at our weekly updates, they've gotten a little bit longer the last few weeks. Our internal communications have gotten longer and more. So if things continue to be at a pace where there's just so much information that we feel like we need to get out there and share with you, no promises, but I wouldn't be surprised to see us all here again together next month. Let's see, any other questions that you guys have seen that we wanted to?
So also, so you know, we record each week a what we call the weekly roundup. If you don't see that on LinkedIn, make a point to go search for it. We'll be filming again and releasing Thursday. So that's 2 days from now. We'll take all the remaining questions in the chat. We have copied it, and we'll go through that. And if there are any questions that are not answered, we'll do them by Thursday. I know some of them are of timing is of the essence because they're about SBA loans. And if we see any like that, we'll reach out to you individually to talk through it. Again, we're not experts on the financing part of it. We're not tax specialists, but we'll answer those to the best of our ability. And on Thursday, when we release the weekly update, we'll send that out. We'll respond to questions in here.
All right, well, we're at the top of the hour, you guys. Thank you so much for joining. Like Adam said, we will continue to create a steady stream of education information coming your way on the weekly roundup. Reach out to us on LinkedIn. We'd love to see you there. We are there all the time. You guys, we are so grateful for having you in our Telarus family. We love working with you. This is not just business for us. This is something that goes much, much deeper. So thank you guys so much. Stay safe, stay indoors, and take care, everyone.
See you guys.